Once again, the nation of China factors into today's first story, but this time we're visiting the island of Taiwan. I'm Carl Azus for CNN 10. Thank you for watching. Taiwan is located about 100 miles off the eastern coast of China. Both the island and the mainland consider Taiwan to be a province of China, but they both have their own governments, and those governments both consider themselves to be the legitimate rulers over all of China. That's a major issue between them. On Sunday morning, Taiwan says 2 Chinese Air Force jets crossed a maritime border that separates the island from mainland China. Taiwan scrambled fighter planes in response and accused China of a reckless and provocative action. China hasn't intentionally done this in years, and it hasn't responded to the accusations that it violated Taiwanese airspace. But China has increased its military exercises around Taiwan recently. And in January, Chinese President Xi Jinping said Taiwan independence was a dead end. The U.S. may play a part in this too. Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen says her country wants to buy new fighter jets and tanks from America, saying this would greatly enhance Taiwan's defense capabilities. But China's government said last week that possible U.S. arms sales to Taiwan were dangerous. The flare-up here is just the latest in a back-and-forth struggle between Taiwan and China.
This island of 23 million people is a vibrant democracy that sits just across the sea from the world's largest one-party state. I'm Matt Rivers in Taiwan, officially known as the Republic of China.
And I'm Stephen Jiang in Beijing, the capital of what's officially known as the People's Republic of China. This name has existed since 1949, when the communists won a brutal civil war and forced the previous government to flee to Taiwan.
Both sides set up their own governments, each claiming to be the only legitimate ruler of the entire Chinese territory, and decades of hostility ensued. There was no travel, trade, or communications between both sides, and the threat of military action was a constant presence. But tensions began to ease in the 1990s when Beijing and Taipei authorities began a series of meetings and correspondence that deliberately put aside the issue of sovereignty in favor of resolving practical matters.
These dialogues paved the way for economic and cultural cooperation. Businesses from Taiwan have invested billions of dollars here on the mainland, the world's most populous country and second largest economy. And millions of mainland tourists have flocked to Taiwan after direct flights resumed. But still, China insists Taiwan is a breakaway province that must be reunited with the mainland by force if necessary.
Since Taiwan became a democracy in the late 1990s, cross-strait relations have fluctuated depending on which of the 2 main political parties is in power on the island. Bilateral ties warm up when the Kuomintang, the party that favors closer ties with China, rules Taiwan, and relations deteriorate when Taiwan's leader is from the Democratic Progressive Party, which traditionally supports Taiwan independence.
Tensions have been climbing since 2016, when the pro-independence party's nominee Tsai Ing-wen was elected president. Chinese President Xi Jinping has hardened his rhetoric and policies towards Taiwan.
With analysts seeing increased Chinese military drills near Taiwan, many people here are wary of the growing strength and ambitions of their massive neighbor just across the sea, fearful that their unique way of life, cultivated over the last 7 decades, may be under rising threat.
10-second trivia. Rubiola or rubiola is another term for what? Red gems, measles, Martian soil, or clay? This is another term for measles, a contagious virus that's characterized by a skin rash. Other symptoms of measles include a high fever and a cough, and large outbreaks are happening right now in the nations of Israel, Philippines, and Ukraine. Over each of the past 10 years, the United States has averaged anywhere from a few dozen to a few hundred measles cases. This year, America has had its second greatest number of diagnoses since the year 2000. So far, there have been 387 cases of measles confirmed across 15 states. The Centers for Disease Control says measles can be serious, leading to the hospitalization of about 25% of those who get the disease. But it's not usually deadly. There's 1 death for every 1,000 cases on average. The CDC says the only way to protect against measles is to get vaccinated. And in the current U.S. outbreaks, most of the children who've contracted the disease were not vaccinated. though a few were and caught the measles anyway. No deaths have been reported. The vaccine offered in the U.S. is called MMR, which stands for measles, mumps, and rubella. Doctors say it's more than 90% effective at preventing measles if someone who's had MMR is exposed to the virus. But the CDC also says there's a remote chance that the vaccine can cause side effects and serious injuries. And that's why some parents are hesitant to allow it for their children.
Health officials in New York State are scrambling to contain a measles outbreak, which is now the longest in the United States since before the disease was eliminated in 2000. 6 months into the outbreak, officials in Rockland County, just north of New York City, have taken the extremely unusual step of banning unvaccinated children under the age of 18 from public spaces. Under the ban, unvaccinated children should not go to restaurants, schools, places of worship, and any public bus. About 85% of confirmed cases in Rockland were 18 or younger. The 30-day emergency order has sparked outrage from some critics.
It's misplaced priority. It's a violation of the constitutional right to lock people in their home.
But officials caution this is about educating the community and encouraging vaccination.
We don't want to fine anyone. We don't want to put anyone in jail. We just want people to comply with the order. We want them to get vaccinated.
The law does not apply to people older than 18 because the county, quote, did not want to prevent anyone from going to work, though they're still encouraged to get vaccinated. There are at least 370 cases linked to this outbreak, including cases in the New York City boroughs of Brooklyn and Queens. According to New York City's Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, most cases have affected members of the Orthodox Jewish community.
I'm from the Orthodox community, and all my friends, all of us, we do what we have to do. I'm quite shocked at what's going on.
Officials say the initial case was an unvaccinated child who contracted the virus during a visit to Israel, a country fighting a measles outbreak of its own.
In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Liberty Bell has been bought by Taco Bell. They're selling gorditas under the clapper. Across Australia, McDonald's has added a new kind of burger called the McPickle. This is not real news. These are April Fool's jokes, an April 1st tradition that apparently dates back hundreds of years. So now that you've made it through another annual Foolin', take a look at some of the history of the foolish tradition.
In ancient cultures, New Year's Day was celebrated on April 1st. But in 1582, Pope Gregory XIII moved the holiday to January 1st. Not everybody got the message. Those that continued to celebrate on April 1st were called April Fools. Funny, right? Much of Britain didn't adopt the new calendar until 1752, but they were celebrating April Fool's Day long before that. In Scotland, it's a 2-day affair. If you've ever had a kick me sign taped to your back, you might blame the Scots. April Fool's Day has also been linked to the vernal equinox and the start of spring. That's when the ancient Romans had their hilarious festival of Hilaria, Hindus have Holi, and Purim is celebrated in Judaism. Some of the biggest April Fool's Day pranks are courtesy of corporations and the media. In 1940, a press release from the Franklin Institute, a science museum in Philadelphia, declared the world would end the following day. They were seeking publicity for a lecture series, and a local radio station reported on it. In 1957, the BBC falsely reported a bumper crop of spaghetti trees in Switzerland.
Another reason why this may be a bumper year lies in the virtual disappearance of the spaghetti weevil.
And in 1998, Burger King announced the left-handed Whopper, specifically designed for the 32 million left-handed Americans, including myself.
Where's the beef in that? After all, it's a hand burger. It's a left-handed compliment that someone might want it. They should do a taste test and see which is better. Sure, one is all right, but another option could give some people a left. Even if they had to charge a high five or more, they deserve a hand for not letting anyone, not even an April Fool, feel left out. I'm Carl Azus on the loose for CNN.